this seems like the perfect time to remind you about the Pythagorean theorem. Or if you haven't heard it before, it's nothing terribly tricky. It won't be too hard to do from scratch. The Pythagorean theorem is really handy and it crops up all the time. And it involves squaring, so to solve you'll need square roots. So what the Pythagorean theorem tells us is that if you have any sort of right triangle, so there's one drawn for this problem, but just in general, it doesn't matter how it's situated, it just has to have this right angle, which should be marked for you with the little square. If that's true, your sum of the square of the legs of the triangle should equal the square of the hypotenuse. So what's really important is that C is the hypotenuse, which is always going to be the longest side or the side directly opposite the right angle. A and B are legs of the triangle, and they are interchangeable in the formula. It doesn't matter which one you're considering to be A and which one you're considering to be B. So for this example, we're asked to find the length of the missing side X over here, which means we can absolutely go for the Pythagorean theorem. I do see that this is a right triangle. What's important is that the 17 is our C value, so it needs to go by itself in the equation. So we will say leg 1 squared plus leg 2 squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared. And you may get one leg or the other, you may get the hypotenuse. No matter which situation you have, you should be able to solve this for any of the side lengths. Here it looks like I need to subtract the 12 squared from both sides. And also I need to double check with technology because I don't know 17 squared off the top of my head. But I do have my Desmos app on hand, and it says that 17 squared is 289, and I know that 12 squared is 144. Again, I would make it a goal to have those memorized up through 12 squared, so I think that one's worth it. And that leaves me with x squared equals 145, which is almost a perfect square. It's almost our 144, but not quite. So to solve, the square root property says that x would have to be plus or minus the square root of 145, which is very close to 12, just tiny, tiny bit bigger. However, this is in the context of some sort of real-world application. There's not a lot going on, but it is geometry. It is a triangle, and triangles cannot have negative side lengths, so we will choose that positive square root, and you'll just have to read directions and figure out if you should be leaving that as an exact answer with the square root, or if you should be converting it to a decimal. Again, if it's asking you to simplify the square root, give me a heads up. I'm not looking for you to do that quite yet this quarter.